All right, Jeremiah 40, thanking God once again and apologizing for any extra echo. I'm in a different venue, but let's call chapter 40 trust, because an abundance of trust, not a lack of trust in a faith where we are called to trust God. We've got to be careful, because here the abundance of trust in people is going to compromise the remnant, and actually an abundance start in what's left of Judah. In this chapter that starts out in the first 6 verses saying, after Jeremiah was freed from Ramah or Ramah, depending upon the correct pronunciation, that once again, I don't know, the captain of the guard of the army of Babylon is going to address him after freeing him and saying, the Lord did this to Judah. You, however, choose. Feel free to come with me, and I will look after you well. However, go wherever you like to go. You have the option of staying with the governor of the land, Gedaliah, with an allowance. He didn't promise him the allowance, but sometimes in life you get a bonus when you get a fresh start, and that's exactly what the captain of the guard does here. Seeing that Jeremiah chooses or is free to choose to go wherever he wants, he doesn't just send him away empty-handed. He sends him with an allowance and a gift. A huge contrast to the way he was treated, as we noticed in the last chapter, by the quote-unquote people of God. Verses 7 through 12 going on to show Gedaliah's address to the remnant, understanding that under his care has been left the poorest of the land to look after the remainder of Judah. But to them are going to gather others who were scattered during the invasion, other survivors who were not carted off into captivity. It's going to address them and say, feel free to dwell here and, more importantly, serve the Lord, reminding them to get back off to a good start. He is going to say for himself, Gedaliah, I, however, am going to dwell at Mizpah to represent you before the king of Babylon for any issues that might arise. At that point, other Judeans who hear the word that they have already started to rebuild in Judah are going to gather to them as well, forming what we have already heard described or prophesied as the remnant. God already making good on his promise. He is not simply going to gather a remnant to struggle. They are going to be able to gather some of what's left in the land into what is described as a great abundance for their new start. However, trouble is soon going to follow them in verses 13 through 16 as one of the soldiers that seems to be left over from the conquest, a man by the name of Johanan, is going to warn Gedaliah that the Ammonites have sent an assassin by the name of Ishmael, someone who appears to be trusted, and quite likely even another Israelite who survived the destruction. He has been sent to kill Gedaliah, but Gedaliah does not believe Johanan, accusing him of falsely accusing Ishmael, quite possibly wanting to see peace amongst the remnant, having seen as much killing as he wants to see. However, his desire for peace is going to open the door for even more killing, as Johanan's words against Ishmael were actually true. Reminding me that life would be so much easier if all we needed were a big heart. But with a big heart, we also need godly discernment to understand all of the dangers that life has ahead for us. Understanding that a warm heart, too often wounded by faulty assumptions about human nature and shady character, can turn cold. Which is why we sometimes say, my prayer for you is my prayer for me. That God deliver us from letting our desire to see the best in people blind us to what they actually are.